with Lawyer.com. We always our president of Lawyer.com with us, Colleen, and
Hey
Gary,
guys,
one of our strategic law firm growth experts. Excited to be with everyone today. How are you doing, Colleen?
I'm well. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic, doing well. Gary, how about you?
Yep, I'm still here.
You're still here. It was interesting, and I don't want to start off today. We've got three amazing things we're going to talk about today, but I don't want to start off on a downside. But I do want to just mention that yesterday, I attended a funeral of a very good friend. Okay, now he passed away. He was 74 years old, just this amazing individual. And I was sitting at his funeral, and everyone was sharing. It was one of the best, and I know we don't rank funerals, but this was one of the best funerals I'd ever been to, because I was sitting there, and his family got up, and it was like this celebration of life. Like, there were some tears, of course, but people were really focused on all that he had accomplished. And so as I was driving away from the funeral, I was thinking to myself, man, I want to make sure that I leave it all on the table, that I want to make sure that I impact others and I accomplish what I want to accomplish in this life. But as we're approaching the end of the year, as the year of 2023 is going to start to die here, and again, I don't want to ride this theme too long, but we have Q4 approaching us, quarter four, and it's the last quarter of the year. And if we're in a football game, everyone holds up their forefingers, saying it's the end of the year. And so Colleen and Gary and I, we want to talk about three specific things that a law firm should be focused on as we finish 2023 strong. So we're going to give you three things that you can focus on to really finish 2023 strong. And we'll start with you, Colleen.
Sounds good. Well, I'm going to say innovation, specifically when it comes to AI. AI has been so hot in 2023. It's truly, when we recap this year, number one is going to be AI in all different areas. But the question is how can you in the next 3 months use AI to build a better business? Do you know enough? Are you educating yourself? If you're educated, are you using the legal platforms out there? And how do they work? Are you sharing it with colleagues and learning and growing? There are so many AI platforms out there to help lawyers. You have to start using them, because come January, the race is on. And those who are using AI will win the race.
I love that you share that, Colleen, because it's interesting. We're all very good, at least most of us are really good at procrastinating, right? And we'll say we're going to. But Colleen, you're challenging everyone and at least suggesting to everyone that one of the things they really should focus on the end of this year, so they're ready for 2024 to hit the ground running.
We see AI in legal, specifically with case research, client management, case management. Drill down to one of those and say, okay, well, challenge yourself. Say, okay, this week I'm going to learn about these platforms, or you'll call us and we'll give you the names of the platforms to try. And say, okay, let's see if I can play around with it on Saturday and learn how to use it, test it on Monday, because that's what your whole competition is doing. And if you're not doing that, you're out of the race.
That is so good. So important. And it's interesting, Colleen, just this year, I remember sitting with you on a panel at an event in January where you had just started mentioning Chat GPT. And it was like Chat GPT, it's an amazing platform. And it was just starting. In fact, and then the demand for people saying, okay, I want to know more. I want to know more. And then at Lawyer.com, we are focused on innovation and making sure that we give you the tools and resources to get where you need to be. And so, Colleen, just for everyone listening, just share with them when you started teaching specifically about AI, and let's talk Chat GPT for just a second. How many plugins were you dealing with when you first started?
So when we started doing weekly webinars just to educate people what is AI, because it is very daunting when you go in and you hear about it and you're like, I don't even understand. So we tried to take it at bite-sized pieces, and one of which was just understanding ChatGPT. ChatGPT has plugins like apps would have. And when we started, there really wasn't any plugins. And then the next week, it was 80 plugins, and then 200 plugins, and then 600 plugins. And we were sitting here doing the research, and we were just shocked that week after week, the amount of tech effort and innovation going into just ChatGPT was magnificent.
And obviously we don't have time to get into all the capital that's been raised for AI platforms in 2023 alone.
Absolutely.
It's astounding
Billion.
to know how much has been raised just so that people can run down this path. And so think to yourself, and I love what Colleen's saying here, don't get overwhelmed, but think to yourself, okay, how can I use AI somewhere? And if you lack that direction, at Lawyer.com, we have webinars, trainings that can help you there. But specifically innovation with AI, I love that. Colleen, Gary, how about you?
Top that, Gary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that, Colleen?
I said top that.
Yeah, well, I should just quit now, I guess, right? I think that I've been an entrepreneur my whole career, basically, because probably couldn't really fit into any other organization. But I think the thing that has served me well over the years has probably been approaching Q4 always kind of in the same mindset that I'm here to execute what I said I was going to do throughout the year, but now I need to get ready for next year. And I've found great efficiencies over the year when I look at operational things. So I'm going to say to take a look at operational efficiencies and technologies. And typically, I would say that around this time of year, I would probably be doing an audit of the things that we're doing, where we might be able to incorporate some of the other tools that Colleen alluded to, and then kind of go from there and look into what processes do we have that can be optimized. And in particular, that makes me think of the intake process, where just paying attention to the conversations that we've had over the last year. I think with all the tools and the things that are available to us all now, there's a great opportunity to improve the efficiencies of operations as it relates to intake, to maximize conversions there. And then I think the other thing that I might look at would be probably contingent upon how many people who I still had maybe working remote and what type of infrastructure. But I think that operational efficiencies and technology.
Right. Operations. And you said specifically, and that's what I was. So when Colleen was saying AI, she's saying, okay, just pick up one specific area. And Gary, you're along that same theme, saying what one side of your business operationally can you really focus on and really refine this as we finish the year. And you mentioned intake. And I would suggest, or I would even speak in absolutes. In all the firms, Colleen and Gary, that we've been in, probably the number one most neglected area is intake. One of the most neglected area. And we see that because at Lawyer.com, we provide so many leads, millions and millions of leads. So many attorneys turn to us and say, okay, we've got to use Lawyer.com to really grow our business. And we do. We were just in an event last week where an individual stands up and he goes, I grew my firm because of Lawyer.com, and so we provide those leads, but at the same time, intake is so neglected. It's crazy how much it is neglected. And so when you speak operationally, Gary, how do we fix intake? And of course, for me, I wish I had a band. So you look at my room, it's all dark, just because that's the way I like it. I wish I had a big neon light behind me that lit up that said Lawyer Line, because I'm sitting here, everyone listening right now, everyone listening, Gary says you need to fix operations. And if one thing, you make one phone call and you look at Lawyer Line, oh my goodness, it's game changing for your business at Lawyer. It's one of those it's one of those products at Lawyer.com. We get excited about what we do at Lawyer.com, but that product of Lawyer Line, it'll blow your mind. It's amazing. And so think about what you're doing operationally. I love that you said that, Gary. Operationally, it is big. What can you do specifically with intake? So that's great. So we have AI, focus on AI. Gary, you're talking about operations with an emphasis on intake. And I'm going to add one other thing. My third thing is measuring your success. Measuring your success. Now you go, okay, what do you mean by that, Chad? Well, I understand what Colleen's saying about looking to where I can use AI at least in one area. And I know, Gary, you're saying, okay, operation. So AI operation, why do you say measuring? I just think too many times law firms are just operating without really measuring their success. And so here we are in September. And if we were, Colleen, Gary, if we were to go ask law firms, are you on track or off track? And I don't know if they could tell us, even if we gave them 24 hours, they'll be like, now some listening are like, yeah, I know exactly. But really focus on where you are right now. And are you where you wanted to be? And if you didn't have a clear indication of that, take this quarter, Q4, to really measure that to see where you need to be. Because I know when law firms come to us, to Lawyer.com, and they go, okay, I've got to improve. We know we can show them where to improve. And I just mentioned Lawyer Line, but there are other ways you can get leads, all sorts of things that we do at Lawyer.com. But if you're not measuring it, you're just not having and won't have the success that you want. So you really, really have to measure that. So AI, operations, and measurement, those three things. And I know they aren't fully connected, but at the same time, they are. And I know that if we really look, Colleen, Gary, if firms really take just those three things and focus on them at the end of the year, they can have exponential success.
Yeah, Chad, I just want to put an exclamation mark or double click on that for a second, because I remember when I first started thinking along those lines and reading about the importance of tracking and measuring what's going on. And there could be people listening today, and this is really the only reason why I bring it up, is because even if you don't think by paying attention, and I do it on a weekly basis, I don't know really how to describe it, but just by the attention and the focus on the numbers, it's almost as though there's, forgive me, but a little magic involved, because it just seems to happen that because that's what you're focused on, you start to see other opportunities. You start to think a little bit differently, and it doesn't even have to be contrived or planned. It just seems to happen. So I love the fact, Chad, that you said that, because I think that if more people paid attention to their short numbers, that we would probably, or they would enjoy more rapid growth. So I think.
Well, and just to triple click on that, guys, we have a famous saying around the office. Jerry Gorman, who's the CEO, will say it in so many meetings, and he says, "What you measure will grow. Be careful what you measure, because it will grow." And that's exactly what you're saying, Gary and Chad, because if you're not measuring it, you have no control. So get the control, understand, and then grow from that.
That's right. And then if you can get these things, if you do exactly what you said, Colleen, and focus on AI, and Gary, you focus on operations, and you're measuring it, then you can reach into the passion bucket and focus on what you love, right?
Right.
And you can be passionate about, because a lot of attorneys are like, I'm just not passionate. Like their passion bucket is dry, right? And so they're like, I'm not doing what I thought I'd be doing. But do these things we've talked about, and it'll be game changing for your firm. And by the way, We love it. Love it. One of my favorite things, Colleen, is when someone goes, I do need to focus on intake, and then they jump on Lawyer Line and they
Right,
watch their
absolutely.
business explode. So it's fun. All right. Well, always great to be with you, Colleen and Gary. Any
Nice to
last
see you,
parting
Colleen.
words?
Thank you, chat.
Any last parting words for anyone?
See you next week.
Absolutely. Love it. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys.